What's up? What's up? This is Royce the 5'9". I want to send a shout out to Mikey T, the movie star. Love and respect to all. Peace.
Man, Royce the 5'9", I really appreciate you joining me today, man. It's a privilege to have you on the channel.
Thank you for having me, brother.
You know, you've had an amazing career that spanned different labels, solo albums, duo albums, group albums. You've pretty much done it all.
Yeah, yeah, man. I like to think that I checked a lot of the boxes. You know what I mean? I've been around for a minute. You know what I mean? Like after you kind of get in it, you start to make a lot of mistakes and shit. You start to learn to be a little bit more purposeful with your movements, and you start to really get a better understanding of what it is that you actually want out of this shit. You know what I mean? Like we come into it, we all come in at the beginning and we just assume that we all want the same thing. You know what I mean? Which is what's marketed to us on TV. You know, like fortune and fame and plenty of success. Then, you know, after you be in this shit for long enough, you start to realize success is really subjective. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, so it's like, you know, you get into it, you come into it kind of blind, and then you just kind of learn as you go. You know, you awaken as you go, as things come to a realization. So yeah, it's definitely been quite the journey.
How was the music scene in Detroit? How was the music scene in Michigan? Break it down for me a little bit.
It's a real diverse, real diverse. Back then, let me see, 95, 94, 95, I was still in high school. Shit was still about the radio back then. You know what I mean? So at that time, it wasn't really a such thing as like a famous person, a famous artist from Detroit. You know, like the most famous person I probably saw was like Joe Dumars at the gas station or something. I fanned out, you know what I'm saying? So like, um, we had the hip hop shop, which is the historic Maurice Malone open mic and clothing store. So I started going there after I graduated high school in '96. You know, so basically how it breaks down, well, how it broke down back then is the hip hop scene in Detroit, like the hip hop side of it, you know, like the people who were intentional about being lyricists, people like myself, Elzai, Big Proof, Eminem, all the D12 guys, Obi Trice, you know, Slum Village, pretty much anybody you can think of from that, you know, circa 95 kind of like era. We had like a small community where it's like everybody kind of knew everybody. It was like maybe 3 or 4 open mics that everybody would go to. And this was before social media was like the caveat, you know what I'm saying? So that was like our social media. We would go meet up, you know what I'm saying, at every open mic and, you know, be in each other's face, you know, with the energy. So, you know, rather that be a battle, disagreements, you know, like getting into fights and shit, making up, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody was just kind of like a dysfunctional family, but just close knit. You know, everybody knew each other. It was real easy to get popular. If you were good, if you caught on and you were good, then, you know, like it was real easy to get like a buzz within that community. And then you had a completely separate scene, which was like the street side of things, like the street rap side of things. So you had guys that were like get money crews, like the Street Lord Mafia, East Side Cheddar Boys, and they made classic records for the strip clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like in Detroit, we hang at strip clubs. We hang at strip clubs and we hang at like local bars. We're not too super big on big clubs like that. We like the neighborhood shit. You know what I'm saying? So they made records for strip clubs, classic records that still play to this day. You know what I mean? And it was always separate because it was just like they kind of represented one thing in their music. We kind of represented one thing with like what we were going there and doing. You know, it was about the bars with us, but then it was about just the movement and just about the hustle with them. You know what I mean? So you had some guys that can kind of like straddle the fence and like exist on both sides. That was kind of like myself. I got like a lot of close family members on this side, and then also I'm on this side. And then, you know, you have guys that just only exist on this side and vice versa. You know what I mean? So to this day, it's still kind of like that. But now, since M got on to the magnitude that he did back in the day, the hip hop side of things kind of set precedence and got on first. So that's why you seen 8 Mile and all of that, which if you talk to somebody from the street side, especially the youngins, they would probably tell you that that's not an accurate depiction of what Detroit really is. But really it is. It's just not a accurate depiction of Detroit in its entirety. It's one of the layers, you know what I'm saying? So now the street side of things is really starting to shine. You know, you got the Sadas, the Babyface Ray, Young V's, you know what I mean? Like all the dudes is doing their thing. Peasy, T Grizzly, you know what I'm saying? All the dudes doing their thing. And Sean is just like his own fucking, you know what I'm saying, anomaly. So yeah, that's pretty much Detroit broken down in a nutshell.
So when you got involved in the scene, what was the first opportunity that you saw that music could be your way out?
Um Shit, that's a good question. I I was going to the open mics and shit, man, and I made a choice. Like when my son was born, I decided because back then you had to have a record deal. You know, that was the only way, being from like the Midwest, that you could like garner any sort of attention. So I just made a decision. I had a friend who was living out in New York, said I can come stay with him, you know, and record as much music as possible and just take meetings with labels. So I just made a decision, you know, like I told myself I wasn't coming back until I got a record deal. You know what I mean? I had just met Marshall in December. You know what I mean? So he was still tearing shit up, doing battles and shit like that. And when he signed his deal with Dre, there was a song we did called Bad Meets Evil, where he wanted to use it for the album. So I went out there to re-record my vocals for that. You know what I'm saying? Like me and him got kind of tight. You know what I'm saying? And then I went back to New York. I started taking meetings, and I did a meeting with Herbie Lovebug, the legend Herbie Lovebug, and he was interested in my demo, and we were having conversations about possibly doing a deal. And I got on the phone and told Marshall that I was about to do a deal with Herbie Lovebug. He was like, "Man, listen, respectfully, you're not doing no deal with Herbie Lovebug, bro." He was like, send me your demo out here. I sent it to him, and he played it for Dre. And Dre called me the next day, um, introduced himself and asked me if I was interested to come out and work on the Chronic. I told him, shit, what? Hell yeah. So I went out there and shit, and that was shit, history after that.